Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you've spent literally any time on the health and wellness side of the internet lately, you have absolutely encountered the massive hype around one specific biological process. I'm talking about the bold claim that triggering your body's cellular recycling system, something called autophagy, can miraculously cure just about everything from aging all the way to complex chronic diseases. You know the ones I mean. The viral videos, the influencers, the aggressive marketing campaigns pushing 72-hour extreme fast and expensive supplements, all promising to unlock autophagy to heal you from the inside out. They completely frame it as a magic bullet. But today we're going to look past all that influencer hype and dive into the hard biological reality because as we all see, biology demands a lot of respect, and it really doesn't care about internet simplifications. I mean, just listen to this quote from our source material. There is this incredibly pervasive idea online that you can simply fast away a complex autoimmune condition like type 1 diabetes to trigger autophagy. That isn't just wrong. It fundamentally ignores how human DNA actually works. So today we're going to dismantle these myths piece by piece. So here's exactly how we're breaking things down. 1. Autophagy hype versus reality. 2. How autophagy actually works. 3. The cancer autophagy paradox. 4. Type 1 diabetes genetics. And finally, 5. Mitigating type 2 diabetes, starting right off with section 1, autophagy hype versus reality, the internet myth of biological cure all. Let's move to section 2, how autophagy actually works. We're going inside the cellular recycling plant to really grasp why a weekend use cleanse isn't some medical miracle. We have to understand what autophagy actually is at a microscopic level. The word itself comes from the Greek auto, meaning self, and phagy, meaning eating, literally self-eating. Think of it as our own cell's internal, highly efficient recycling facility. It's an evolutionary conservative process, meaning pretty much all living things do it. Your cells break down damaged materials, misfolded proteins, and worn out organelles to maintain a healthy internal balance. It is an incredibly survival strategy for when a cell is under genuine stress. The actual biological mechanics of this are just fascinating. Picture a tiny double membrane structure called a phagophore, forming a cup shape. It reaches out, wraps around that damaged cellular material, and seals it up inside a little bubble called an autophagosome. Then the bubble merges with a lysosome, which you can think of as a microscopic stomach packed full of enzymes to completely break everything down into basic building blocks, like amino acids, that the cell can actually reuse. So, the absolutely crucial point here is that this is not some vague, mystical cleansing energy. It is a highly regulated mechanical four-step machine: initiation, elongation, maturation, and degradation. And it is strictly controlled by metabolic sensors in your body like mTOR and AMPK. These sensors respond to severe cellular stress like an actual famine or nutrient deprivation, not just because you skip breakfast. It's a precise biological system, definitely not a trendy on off switch, which brings us right to section 3, the cancer autophagy paradox, a double edged biological sword. Okay, here's where the internet hype really falls apart. It turns out that autophagy presents a massive paradox. In the very early stages, autophagy is the hero. It acts as a tumor suppressor. It cleans up toxic radicals, prevents DNA damage, and actively stops tumors from growing. But, and this is a huge but, once a tumor is fully established, Total plot twist. It becomes a tumor progressor. Advanced cancer cells have sky-high metabolic demands, and they will literally hijack your recycling center to survive low oxygen environments, using those recycled nutrients to protect themselves against chemotherapy. When these cancer cells mutate, they physically rewire complex signaling pathways, specifically PI3K and mTOR. They turn your own cellular recycling plant into their personal survival engine. So think about this. The common influencer advice to just boost autophagy is wildly dangerous oversimplification. If someone has advanced cancer, hyperactivating autophagy could theoretically be giving the tumor the exact fuel it needs to thrive. Now let's look at section 4, type 1 diabetes genetics. Why you absolutely cannot diet away your DNA. This brings us to a condition that is heavily targeted by these viral health hacks, type 1 diabetes. But the science is incredibly clear here. Type 1 diabetes is a polygenic assault. 60, that is the number of distinct genetic checkpoints dictating the fate of your pancreas. This means your immune system is physically, permanently hardwired to target your own insulin-producing beta cells. It is literally written into your DNA. To get into the specifics, research have pinpointed 5 primary high-risk genetic regions or loci. The absolute heavy hitter is the HLA class II complex on chromosome 6. That bad boy carries 40 to 50% of the heritable risk all by itself. Then you add the INI-S genes, others like PTPN22 and CTLA4. You don't need a medical degree to get this. Just know that genes like PTPN22 act like a broken off switches for your immune system. If you carry these variations, your T cells are aggressively taught to view your pancreas as a foreign invader. And that picture's even more complex than that. You got accelerator genes like STAT4 and ERB3 slamming their foot on the gas pedal, speeding up pancreatic destruction. On the flip side, some people are actually born with protective genes, like a dominant allele HLA-DQB1, star 0602 acts as a literal shield, blocking the autoimmune attack, even if you carry those high-risk genes. The bottom line, you cannot rewrite this deeply embedded human leukocyte antigen coding with raw diet. And that leads us to section 5, mitigating type 2 diabetes. Management, not a magic cure. Now, type 2 diabetes is a very different beast, driven heavily by insulin resistance and the scale of metabolic disease. It's genuinely staggering. We're talking about 537 million people facing chronic hyperglycemia globally. With those numbers climbing, biological mechanisms to manage this is incredibly urgent, and this is exactly where autophagy becomes a really important area of research. Because here's the good news. In the context of type 2 diabetes, autophagy is a superstar. Chronic high blood sugar wreaks havoc on your cells, but autophagy acts as the ultimate cleanup crew. It steps up to mitigate oxidative stress, clear out busted dysfunctional mitochondria, and that drastically reduce chronic inflammation. By doing all of this heavy lifting, it actually helps protect your islet cells and slows the progression of the disease. But of course, there's a catch. It's a vicious cycle. Extreme glucose toxicity actually kicks off something called endoplasmic reticulum stress, or ERS. Prolonged exposure to the high blood sugar and the excess fat eventually inhibits the very autophagy process we need to clean it all up. The cells become totally overwhelmed. The recycling plant effectively shuts down, and that's where you see the severe complications of diabetes kick in. So what is the ultimate scientific takeaway? Restoring or modulating autophagy is a phenomenal way to manage type 2 diabetes and slow down those severe cellular complications. It's a powerful tool. But framing it as an overright cure that can permanently reverse the condition, that is just biologically inaccurate. It manages the damages for sure, but it doesn't just delete the disease. Autophagy is an amazingly complex, highly regulated machine inside your cells. It can protect you from early stage cancer, but it can also feed advanced tumors. It does an incredible job managing the cellular damage of type 2 diabetes, but it absolutely cannot rewrite the hardwired genetics of type 1. Biology is rarely simple. So the next time an internet influencer promises you a biological miracle just by skipping a few meals, how will you evaluate the viral health hack? Will you fall for the illusion or will you look for the science? Keep asking the right questions and thank you so much for joining me on this explainer.